Hi, you're listening to the Real Work Stories podcast, and I'm your host, Benjamin. If this is your first time tuning in, thank you. And if you tuned in before, welcome back. Now, this is the podcast where I talk about all things customer service, from the customer to the corporation and everything in between. But before I get started, I gotta say thank you to everyone for all your support for the podcast. Thank you for all the likes, shares, comments, downloads. I appreciate it. I only say it every episode because I mean it every episode. And if you don't already follow me on Facebook and Instagram, make sure you do so at Real Work Stories Podcast. That's where you're going to find out about topics, episode snippets, discussions, and more. And today, I'm going to answer a question that somebody asked me not too long ago. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. And I know you're probably wondering, are you going to tell us what they asked you? And yeah, I'm going to tell you. Because I think it was a really good question. Like, it was one of those questions that kind of make you go, you know, I never really thought about that before. So what I've been asked is to poorly describe what I actually do for a living. And I'm like, okay, that seems easy enough, right? Now, if you've listened before, and you've heard me say that, you know, I work at a bank. But what does that actually mean? Because, like, I could be a janitor. I could be a window washer. Just happens to be at a bank. So, what I've actually deduced after several intense minutes of thinking about what I actually do for a living is I think that the best way to poorly describe this is that I am a paid financial debater. Let me say that again. I'm a paid financial debater. Here's what I mean. I mean that I spend the majority of my day arguing with people and trying to prove a point, similar to how you would do in an actual debate. But it's a little bit different because, see, for these kinds of interactions I'm having with people, there is no proper like outline for the debate. You know, normally you have like opening arguments and then rebuttals and then crossfires and stuff like that. But for these kind of debates, no, it doesn't happen. There's no proper opening arguments. There's definitely no use of logic from at least one of the parties involved. I'm not going to call none of my customers names, but we all know they don't use any spectrum of logic by any possible stretch of the imagination of the definition of that word you could possibly think of. But here's the thing. The debate only usually lasts for, I'd say, maybe about 5 to 10 minutes. The bad part is, or one of the disadvantages I'll say, is that I have little to no time to prepare for this interaction, and I don't even know what it's going to be about. Because I'm talking to people that's like, these customers could be from anywhere, wanting just about anything. So it'd be virtually impossible for me to prepare for any and every situation that I could encounter. Now, you could argue that, well, everybody doesn't want something crazy. You're right. Some of them just want regular stuff. But every now and then I get some totally off-the-wall, bizarre question that ain't got nothing to do with nothing for nobody and no reason. And I somehow got to come up with an answer for it. That's what I mean when I say I don't have time to prepare. Because these customers get to sit at home and they pull out their paperwork. They're looking at, you know, terms and conditions and agreements and addendums and memorandums and all of these other things. And it's like, by the time they come to me, these people have done 79 hours of internet research, watched 37 YouTube videos, and read 17 subreddit articles about this one situation, and they think they got me pinned to the wall. And I got like 47 seconds to come up with a response. Yeah, there's no way this is fair. But anyway, and here's the thing. I'm almost always at a disadvantage because of all of that stuff I just said. They have all this time to prepare, and I don't know what they're going to throw at me next. The worst part is the judges. That's quality assurance if you don't know. they're always looking for me to slip up. They listening hard to everything I'm saying because I got to make sure that I'm on point. I don't have an opportunity to be wrong, because if I do, that could cost me my job. I'm just saying. The next thing that I run into is that my opponent in this financial debate is not bound to any rules of engagement for this debate. So if you've ever watched or listened to any kind of debate, there's usually some type of, rules that are set up between the two debaters. Hey, no talking about each other's mothers, cousins, or brothers. Okay, we're not doing that today. We're just going to have a nice, clean debate. We're not going to attack each other's character. You're not going to call him stupid. You're not going to say this and that. You know what I'm saying? Like, just stick to the debate topic. Let's do that. These debates I'm having, no, none of those rules apply. At least not to my opponent. They can say basically whatever they want to say, either to me or about me. Now, there is a point where I will cut them off. It's like, no, you're not going to call me that word anymore. You're not going to call me that slur anymore. But even then, I'm bound by certain rules before I can even say something like that to them. So I'm still at a disadvantage here, people. That's all I'm saying. They get to insult me. I've been called idiot. I've been called stupid. I've been called a lot worse. And yeah, anyway, they get to do all of those things. And like I said, normally in a debate, you're not allowed to do that. But hey, this is corporate America. We operate by different rules here, okay? And here's the really messed up part. Even though my opponent gets to, say whatever they want to say, throw insults, racial slurs, yada, yada, yada. If I was to return that same sentiment back to them, I'd be removed from the premises without a second thought. And that is in spite of the contributions that I've made while being employed at this company. If I were to call a customer an idiot or some of the other outrageous things I've been called in my life, I'd be fired before the interaction was over. Just before it was all said and done, I'd get that tap on my desk. Hey, go ahead and log out for me real quick and come with me. If you know, you know. But if they ever come to you and say, log out real quick. Just go ahead and log off after this call. Come with me. Usually that means you're not coming back. Just bring all of your stuff. Yeah, go ahead and empty your desk. That's usually how this situation would end. If I were to return the same energy back to the customer, to my opponent in this debate, that they've been giving to me this entire time. And like I said, this goes without saying, but regardless of how many ideas I've contributed to this organization, this company, however you want to phrase it, regardless of how much of an influence I've been to this company, it almost doesn't matter. Because when you disrespect their clientele, that's probably the worst thing that you can do, even though their clientele gets to disrespect us constantly. So I really wonder where their loyalty lies, because that's a question I should find out the answer to. Where does their loyalty really lie? Is it with me? Or is it with... Anyway, so here's the thing. So, like I said, I'm a professional financial debater, a paid financial debater, right? And in the course of this interaction that I'm going to have with my opponent, normally when you're in an actual debate, you would have a designated time where you would be speaking. And then after that time period ends, your opponent would have a chance to respond to whatever you said. then we, either continue that or switch to a different part of the debate. But in this kind of debate, like I said, there's no formality to it. And it sort of starts off, actually, if you think about it, it almost starts off in a crossfire. Because what happens is, usually about 3 words into whatever I'm saying, I get overtalked and cut off. Now, I said that there are no rules of engagement for this debate earlier. What I meant to say is that there are no rules of engagement for my opponent if I did not make that very clear. Because my opponent can overtalk me. But me overtalking them would be, grounds for at least a serious talking to after this particular conversation. But my opponent is usually going to overtalk me and cut me off in the middle of me saying, whatever I'm saying, or trying to answer whatever remedial question they've asked me, And all the while this is happening, I'm being simultaneously told that what I'm saying doesn't make sense. Where this is why I said that there is no logic that exists almost in this debate, especially on the end of my opponent in this case, because most incomplete sentences rarely make sense. What the logic thing to me would be to just stop talking, let me finish what I'm going to say, then you would understand my point. But they don't want to do that. There's no point in doing that. And the even worse part is, when you think about it, this debate is rigged. From the very beginning, it's rigged for me to lose. It's like a casino. Because at the end of this interaction, even though I can provide 100% factual information, give clear and concise information in rapid succession and in all directions, none of that matters, because realistically, my success in this interaction, in this debate, is determined by my opponent. And not only is it determined by my opponent, but it's more so determined by their perception of how I handled them during this debate. If you know anything about any type of customer service, usually what happens is after you interact with either a specific person from a company or that company in general, you are going to take some type of survey. And this is what I'm talking about. This survey is going to ask questions like, oh, how well did this person do? How likely are you to recommend, your friends and family to this company? And it's like, even though I can give the right answer, I can try to be as nice as I can when I say it. If my opponent is in their feelings that day, I failed. If I didn't, suck up to their sob story enough, I failed. And ultimately, if I didn't kiss their behind for as long as they think I should have, I failed. Which isn't a reflection of how well I actually do, per se. It's more of a reflection of how they think I did, based on however the heck they're feeling that day. But what do I know? I just work here. So, like I said, this is how I would poorly describe what I actually do for a living. But I want to know. Tell me, poorly describe to me what you do for a living. I would love to find out. Hey, if you're like me and you're a paid financial debater, tell me more. Tell me about your experience, because I'm interested to know. And so if you don't already, please head over to Instagram and Facebook and follow me at The Real Work Stories Podcast. Check out my latest post. And poorly describe to me what you do for a living. Thanks again for tuning into another episode of The Real Work Stories Podcast. I'm your host, Benjamin. Holla.